Good afternoon. My name is Edyta Kochlewska. On the daily basis, I am editor-in-chief of Dla Handlu.pl, but today I will have a pleasure to moderate this session between pressure and innovation in food sector. My guests and good speakers are here. Jacek Jarocki, Production Director, Nutricia Danone.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Roman Sitko, Manufacturing Senior Director, Mondelēz Poland. Dr. Jacek Czarnecki, Director of Public Affairs, Nestle and Vice President, Lewiatan Food. Mr. Ronny Matthijs, Plant Director, Kellanova Kutno.
Good afternoon.
And Mr. Mauricio Contreras, Marketing Director, Tetra Pak Eastern Europe.
Good afternoon.
I would like to direct our discussion from general view to the very practical view. So I would like to ask you, as a practitioners, what do you see as the main pressure in your sector? What are the main challenges, and what's the, let's say, exit from this or solution to change the pressure to innovation?
All right. So me first.
Yes, please.
All right. So I fully agree with what Maciej said as a pre-keynote, let's say, to this discussion. Indeed, we are facing big uncertainty of deliveries of the higher and higher requirements regarding quality of ingredients, regarding sustainability, price of energy, and we have to deal with that. On the other hand, we also face the necessity to stay competitive, price competitive. So we still need to look for an efficiency project and how to attract the talent in order to they want to work with us.
But attract talents and on the end attract customers to your product.
Yes, that's true. So we have to do both because of course we need to satisfy our customers which want to more dedicated product available whenever they need it. So this is the clue, yeah, indeed. But on the other hand, to deliver the product in right amount, in right time, in right quality, we need the right people as well.
Thank you very much. How do you see it in Mondelēz?
Everything what was said so far, I fully agree. And I have to tell you, maybe from my 30 years experience in the food industry, that the turbulences we see from the pandemic time on the supply chain is unprecedented, and everybody was expecting that after the pandemic everything will stabilize, but one war, another one, some other things, looks like we are pretty much all the time in the firefighting. We are happy to work for the big company and we support each other and we solve the problems, but situation is not easy. To what was said before, I would add a few factors. One is the huge inflation on the cost side. For us, as the leading company on the chocolate market, especially the cocoa prices, last 2 years really got crazy. This is 3-4 times higher than it was before this crisis. So we need to really find a way to change the product the way the customers will still like it, but also will be affordable, but also find the other efficiencies, also using the new technologies. All industries also struggling. It was not said so far with the availability of the people, especially technical, with technical skills. It was about capabilities. I think you meant that. But basically, all food industry started to be much more automatized over the last years. So we need to switch our people from the simple jobs to the technical jobs to the digital jobs, and the skills are missing on the market. So we really need to work on that. We do the programs. We, for example, in Mondelēz, we mitigate that with training of the women to the technical position. We have nice program, technical women, when we already trained quite big number of the women to be technical operators. So this is one of the solutions. But the challenges are plenty.
Bigger that solution for now, yes?
Yeah.
So I would like to ask Mr. Jacek Czarnecki, because I know that your favorite topic is the legislation challenges. So would you like to, let's say, point some of them?
Yeah, regulatory pressure, right? This is really because if you have this margin pressure from the top and it's associated with the supply chains, with the whole value chain, which is changing, the relationships with retailers, changes over there, and then from the bottom you have this raw material prices, and then operations, and the market just in the middle. Then there is indeed regulatory pressure, so legislation coming from different sources, right? And when we see the speed, the dynamics, but also kind of chaotic situation in legislation at the moment in the European Union, but also here in Poland, we can point at a few phenomena which are probably prevailing. One is packaging legislation, right? And we are all quite well aware about packaging and packaging waste regulation, which is quite a complex legal act, which is still a big unknown because it's developing, it's got a lot of transitional periods, a lot of deadlines to be faced, changes not only to the labels of our product, but changes to the whole philosophy of the packaging. So this is the one thing. And then on the top of it, in Poland, we've got the deposit system, which has been implemented, but it's still under development, I would say. But also you've got the manufacturer's responsibility, the whole philosophy which has to make producers responsible for the packaging that they introduce in the market. So this would be probably the packaging area. Then the rest of the sustainability, packaging is not only sustainability, right? This is also food safety, and probably primarily food safety, which we all have to remember about. But then the second are all those sustainability requirements, which is first on the end of informing consumers. So all those anti-greenwashing regulations, and it's really very important, both from the consumer's perspective, because they want to be fairly informed, but also from our perspective, because we want to have means to inform consumers in a way which is understood for them, but also compliant, which is the most complicated thing, because technically it's becoming difficult, to phrase sustainability and environmental benefits of our products in a legal way that is understood to consumers, right? So sustainability is another. Plus, there is a lot of things happening all the time in consumers' information, contaminants, including pesticides. We've got new pesticides requirements in Poland, which were introduced in May for products coming from the outside of the EU. We've got regular contaminants requirements.
I see that we could have 45 minutes only for legislation challenges, so we will skip this for a moment. And of course, I will give you more time, but maybe we will hear how it looks like from Kellanova point of view. Where do you see this big mark question?
Yeah, the biggest challenge we see is that traditional manufacturing is always about offsetting your inflation by driving savings in your factory. And you do that through traditional models. We use Lean Six Sigma, and it's worked without any doubt, and it's been a sustainable business model, which has been great. Now, like also Maciej mentioned in the beginning, is that the changes in the world, in the climate, what the shopper wants, what the retailer wants is going so fast that the traditional business model, it doesn't work anymore. Yeah? And this is basically where we are faced with. And let's be honest, we produce food. The core ingredients to produce food is ingredients, and on the other hand are your people. So by combining technology or bringing technology into your factory, you will be able to move away from reacting on what is changing your ingredients by your people, more into a preventive, predictive mode, by giving people the right technology. So I think the biggest challenge is really the change which is happening and is going extremely fast across the entire world. And the only way out is really the technology.
It should be on the end of our discussion, but okay, because it's a very good sentence on the end, but how it looks like from the supplier's perspective.
Just to build up on what was already said, we believe that the biggest challenge is about adapting at speed, because the changes are happening so fast that it's not about if they will continue to come. It's they will, and it's when, and we need to preempt them. So, well, we believe then that it's for the business of food, it's going to be critical. Then food safety remains critical. If we think about it, around over 1/3 of the food production is being lost in the world right now, and in a few decades, it's going to be more than 9 billion people. So we need to be more effective in protecting food. Food quality becomes also quite relevant to secure that. And then, of course, it comes then to sustainability, and sustainability is the core of the strategy for the long term, not only to comply with legislation, but also to really make an impact in the world that we live in. And then cost, that was also mentioned, to be more effective, because we will continue to have more cost pressure, inflation, it's a big concern. So technologies that can help to drive productivity, to reduce the total cost of operation are going to be significant. And then, of course, finally, it's innovation, because the consumers are evolving and are asking for more products with cleaner labels, with other features that are going very fast. And the food industry needs to adapt to all of this very fast. So I think then adapting at speed is what's critical challenge then for.
Thank you very much. I would like, in the second round of question, because Poland for many years was treated as a country with customers who wants always the cheapest products, and also we had this advantage of being cheap country as a workers or talents. But now everything changed. Of course, customers, they have the same needs, but of course employers think about themselves as a living in an innovative country, so they expect more. So do you see how Polish companies or companies operating in Poland could, resolve this question? How to, let's say, go from the lower cost to the innovative, let's say, role model, and working in this situation?
Mm-hmm. I believe this is already ongoing process, because, for instance, in our company, in Danone Nutricia, but also in Mondelēz, in some other company, we already have Center of Innovations in Poland, Center of Digitalizations in Poland. So it's already changed. And it's changing on both sides, on the customer, because Polish customers expecting something more, higher quality, clean label, as mentioned already, super high ingredients. On the other hand, Polish people, Polish labor show that we have ability to adapt ourselves very quickly. So in Poland, Poland is the right place to test new technology, to prove that proposed models can work very well. Yeah, so I believe we are already on the way there.
So we are on the process. How do you see it in Mondelēz?
I feel the same. That's actually, it happened already. And example of my company where companies before were investing in Poland, and very often were moving the production, which was more complicated, to Poland because of the cheap labor, yeah, basically. Not investing on the packaging ends, because packaging was cheap. We started to invest, of course, in automation, but the time when we had to accept this complexity helped us to be really agile, to learn, to manage the complexity, to manage the change, to really manage the projects. So we are very famous in the company for that. So the company knows that they can invest in Poland, having the very good return. Even if now the labor is not so cheap, and still there is investment, but also more advanced investment. In Poland, we have an R&D center next to Wrocław factory, and this is not only for Poland. This is one of the few global R&D centers for Mondelēz. So example of this investment. Another one is role of our factory in Skarbimierz, which is called in Europe digital lighthouse for Mondelēz. So this is another example. Or we have huge investment now in points where we invest 680 million zlotych in increasing capacity in the pretty automated lines, yeah, and mostly for European markets. So it happened already. So it's not the labor cost is not the main driver anymore.
So you started all the innovations and all this, let's say, flexible thinking before the chaotic times came.
Yes, yes.
That's very good.
It was preparation. It was agility and learning agility, basically.
I would like to ask Mr. Jacek Czarnecki about maybe still legislation challenges, but in the context of labor market. Are we in the time when this, let's say, attitude to people who can work in the food sector is all right, or something should be seen different?
You mean the attitude of people working, right?
Or the attitude of the government even, that we should, let's say, promote this sector as an innovative one, or not to only think as a, let's say, old good food, let's say, production?
We are in transition, I would say. I think that more and more food manufacturing sector is seen as the coordinator of the whole value chain, right? In the past, indeed, you know, the Ministry of Agriculture was the leading one, and then, you know, the farmers were ruling, kind of, you know, what they produced had to be processed by food industry. Now, food industry is basically developing, you know, farmers a lot. We invest in modern technologies, for example, in regenerative agriculture, right? Which is new way of farming, and it can deliver, you know, high quality raw materials to us. So it's changing, and the government, and particularly the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, are recognizing, you know, this process. But we are also in transition, and I would like to refer to the two previous speakers. I could also see, you know, this evolution from Poland being a country of, let's say, cheap production, cheap products, and not demanding consumers, in a way, to, you know, the country which is becoming, you know, not only a manufacturing hub, but also sometimes R&D or, you know, product development and new technologies implementation place for, you know, for the Central Europe. And we also have 7, as Nestle, we have 7 manufacturing locations in Poland. We have R&D centers. And Poland not only contributes, but leads the way. Not only for Nestle, but I believe for a lot of companies at the moment, talking from my position in the Polish Food Industry Federation, for example.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask Mr. Ronny Matthijs about the sentence you mentioned, technology is the answer. So I would like to ask you more about it. And where is the place for technology, let's say, where is the best place for technology? Is it the to improve only efficiency, or start something new in the business model, let's say? How do you see the technology as an answer for your company?
A very good question. And again, in traditional models, we've introduced digital tools. We've implemented dashboards. We've gave people the right tools basically to create visibility and ask them to always respond or react on what they basically see. Where the power comes is when you provide digital systems that are all connected. For us, a digital system, an ecosystem, what we have designed together with Siemens in our Kutno factory, in our Pringles factory in Kutno, is basically a system where you can see that we're no longer looking at just a digital twin. We're using AI systems, we're using digital twins, we're using the data from Sensei, like Justina explained before, to basically create a digital thread to your innovation center. So like I just heard before, Poland is really a hub, the center of Europe, a fast-growing market, and we can basically see that what Kutno is generating as a factory, we are using that data to drive innovation in the virtual world. And when you really drive that infinitive innovation cycle, where you do innovation, development of products in your virtual world, this is where technology is bringing the real business value for your operating model.
Thank you very much. And I would like to ask about automation and technology as well, from the supplier point of view. Where do you see the most value for technology from your perspective?
Oh, from Tetra Pak perspective, total cost of operation remains critical. So that means then that the cost will remain then a key variable in Poland, but not only in Poland. So reducing the cost of operation in the factory will be critical. And then technology, data, and automation plays a key role in improving productivity, in delivering food quality, but also then in opening other areas like preventive maintenance and securing then improvements in the process. So that's something that's going to allow then the food industries to become more efficient and most cost effective. But also then technology is also enabling the food manufacturers to innovate at a quicker pace. And that is something that remains quite relevant as we mentioned then the need to move fast in a very fast changing environment. So it is, we see a holistic view on technology touching then the production sites, but also then sustainability and the developments towards the more sustainable technologies. And at the end of the day also then innovating with products that are more attractive to consumer that is looking for a low cost, but also it's quite demanding in terms of what they are looking for in terms of benefits.
I would like to ask in the next round about this combining technology and, let's say, talents, people, or requirements of the labor market, and how this change in the automation, AI implementing, changing your needs for people, and do you find Polish market as enough source for, let's say, implement all this, your dreams, let's say?
All right, I would say still yes. However, it's more and more demanding to attract people to come to work for you. Because, for instance, our company operates in the environment where a lot of companies creating their production center, research and development center. So talents have a lot of companies to select with. Yeah, and to attract them, today you have to show them that they can have an impact. They can, because they are driven by purpose. I see that more and more. But to find people with the right attitude, this is more and more challenging, I would say. But I think this is the only way to stay competitive, to have a people who have a right level of ownership. They understand what they are doing and why they are doing, and also to give them, to motivate them to take decision based on data, real-time data, in a fast way, in order to be flexible.
Mm-hmm. And I would like to ask Mr. Sitko about, because normally Poland was, let's say, treated as a country with only few places when you can work. Let's say Warsaw, maybe sometimes Wrocław and Poznań, yes? And now your factories are in very different places. Sometimes people with this kind of skills are not working there, are not living there, so you have to attract them from different areas of Poland. And how challenging this situation is. Or maybe it's not, maybe it's a...
I think each location has own challenges. In some locations, it's more difficult to get people with simple technical needs, especially if you have 50 companies around and you need a technical operator. Is really fight for that sometimes. That's why you need to really, still attract the people from outside, but base more on your own training. We organize the training shops we were discussing before, where we train ladies, but also the people coming. So we bring the people from the market with some basic skills, but we see the potential in them and we give them the possibility to upgrade. We have pay for skill program when we have structured, if you learn that, you will get that, etc. So we do it to solve this issue. For the other locations, sometimes the problem is how we are perceived, because food industry doesn't seem to be very modern. Chocolate smells nice, this is nice connections, etc. But is it modern? Now I will go to the, I don't know, automotive or something else. Yeah. So, but when the people are coming to us, And we work with the polytechnics. That's everywhere where we do universities and polytechnics. When they come to us, they are very surprised because they see modern technology, they see robotic lines, and their eyes are open, and they start to ask to come for the 3 months to work on the project with us. We allow them. They stopped the factory last year for a moment, but okay, we can allow that. So that's really powerful. Really, we need to change the how we are visible outside as the food industry. We need to change that people are thinking about the traditional mixing and forming and something, but we need to be seen as the modern companies. And also in Poland, having 7 factories, sometimes it's difficult to find something for one location, but having 7 factories, you give the people opportunity to develop the career and to move between the factories, to move outside if somebody wants to develop the career, but also, if this is big organization, we also promote to move between the different departments. So if we have people who are really like to develop, I think this is our big power.
Thank you very much. I would like to go to Mr. Ronny Matthijs because you were very agreed with the previous speakers. So for sure you have to many sentences to add. And I would like to ask you about this changing, because as I understand, all the needs from the food sector is almost IT experts, yes? So do you find this kind of people in Poland, and you are able to attract them?
Today we don't struggle at all in our factory to find people, and it's like location based. We have probably a luxury position that we are located in special economic zone in Kutno. 2007 we were alone. Today 10 to 15 amazing companies around us. So the special economic zone is growing, and the typical traditional models was basically requiring technical operators. Yeah, we got them via Static School in Kutno, very nice collaboration. We never had an issue. Where I agreed, and that's where I started to smile, is that basically, if you want to attract the next generation, my own daughter, and later on the children of hopefully my daughter, they will no longer work in a typical food industry. And the food industry has a label that it's all manual and hard labor. So what you want to do is, by bringing the technology, you basically can first of all eliminate that label, and then you will attract talent. And then universities like Łódź and Poznan and Warsaw makes it very attractive to even work in a different location. That's one. Second of all, I also believe that when you start bringing those technologies into your company and you want to drive innovation, and you can do it in a virtual world before you implement it in the real world, you also make it possible for people to work remotely from other locations. And that is one of our beliefs in our company, that you do not always need to work depending on the role and the technology in your factory, that you can basically master the skills, innovative, in a virtual world before you bring it into a traditional company. And I see the future in there. We're eliminating the label from typical food industry. You will change the way people work. You will eliminate hard labor and attract other talents, but also you create opportunities for people to work remotely to basically support their business model.
So I would say that a big task for food whole sector is to change the brand, let's say, yes, that we are modern sector for people. So that's one of the challenges for sure. And of course, I would like to ask Mr. Mauricio Contreras about this challenges about working with new generations or working with the technology in the same time. How do you see the challenge?
No, we're seeing then working with, for instance, the dairy sector, which is very traditional, and seeing how in cooperatives there is a lot of transformation going on. It's an eye-opener for the possibilities, right? Poles are always addressed as hard workers and as very structured, right? Anywhere that you can ask, you will find that answer. So we need to continue working in the capabilities and to improve those capabilities. But the capacity is there, the technology is there, the possibility to teach these people to evolve in their roles, it's what's going to be the challenge. And that is the big opportunity for Poland to continue consolidating as a food production and exporting hub for Europe and beyond. So I think all of the elements are right there, but technology will definitely transform and attract, if driven correctly, these new generations. But as already mentioned, they're not going to be working on the factory floor as it was 1 decade ago. It's going to be completely different, but it's going to be also quite attractive because their roles are going to be more of value added.
So I would like to start one of the last rounds with Mr. Jacek Czarnecki and to ask you about this environmental and, let's say, resources legislation challenges. Do you see them as the, let's say, most tough from all the, let's say, legislation challenges, or are the same, just there are so many? How do you would?
Yeah, I have my own, but I also think it somehow covers, what Nestle believes and a lot of probably industry people believe, is that the aim of the legislation should be to protect consumers and work for a kind of local and national economy. Okay, if those are basic criteria to create new legislation, then we probably will have good legislation, also taking account of the fact that food industry in this case is consulted and its competitiveness is treated, as a very, very important criterion in this, right? So this is what we really need. And if we look at some of the legislative developments, then we will see that we will need more food industry role in this process. What we've been told by the European Commission recently is that to keep competitiveness or to somehow regain competitiveness of Europe is a priority, but somehow European Commission doesn't have a clue how to address that issue, right? And produces more and more legislation. So in general, this is a big challenge. Not really sustainability, but the whole philosophy of creating legislation. Now, the sustainability area is for the planet to be protected, right? So the key here is not only protection and somehow stopping, targeting, addressing, climate changes, but also regeneration of the food system, right? So again, one thing is competitiveness. The second thing would be to look at food production as a whole, as creating sustainable food systems. This is really to see, the food production or the food economy not really as a food chain, like farmers, then processing, and then let it go through trade to consumers. It's an environment. And if you see the environment, you will see all the factors. And this is what we really need. This is the challenge, that the legislation which is created is not created with the view of all the different factors. Health is one factor. Digital is another factor. Climate change is the next factor. All this is changing, and legislation should capture all those changes. And sustainability legislation is in the center of this.
Seems very good, but seems very tough. But hopefully they will combine somehow and the direction will be okay. I would like to ask Mr. Jacek Jarocki about how this growing environmental challenges affecting investment decision, how it is, let's say, in your point of view.
All right, it's for sure impacting the investment decisions. There is a commitment to be carbon neutral by 2030, and it requires changing the operation model. And of course, it requires investment. It's impacting our factory, but it's impacting the whole company, end-to-end solutions. Yeah, so we see clearly that this is an important part of our plans and an important part of our strategy for coming years.
And how in Mondelēz this change maybe even the decision about technology and investment in technology?
Actually, I'm quite happy that as the company, as the society, we started to look more for the environment, and I think we have big role to, as the customer, also we have to support. So this is double role. As the company and as the customer, and actually sometimes even the crisis helps you to do more than before. First, okay, we have declarations like Danone, and we work towards eliminating of the plastic and etc. But also last few years we invest a lot in the energy preservation. And this is because this is business, so we not do things only to dance and sing, but also to make the savings and long-term improvements. Yeah, and on the energy, for example, this is big programs which we run in the factories, especially on the 3 factories in the Western Poland, when we reduce the energy by 30% in 2 years. Without the digital twin, okay, so I'm a bit sarcastic, but yes, 30% in 2 years. But this is big cultural change. So working with with your employees on the simple tools, on the simple measurements, on the measuring of the lines, but also on the investing in the solar panels. We invested in 3 factories. 6.5 megawatt solar power. I don't know who in Poland has more as the company, so I would like to know, because I never heard about more, but maybe somebody has. But this is one of the biggest in Poland. So we had first, we applied and we received from the government's certificate for first direct line between our installation and the factory, so we didn't have to go outside to kind of sell of our energy. And there are the days like today that probably in 2 of our factories we don't use external source of the energy, just use our solar power in Poland, yeah, which is amazing, yeah. So
for sure, amazing. And I would like to ask Mr. Ronny Matthijs about this combining technology and, let's say, efficiency saving in this environmental, let's say, point of view.
Well, it's the only way out there. I think it's already been said very well. We have a role to play as a company. We have a role to play in the impact on the environment, yeah? And we can play a role there. Now, it's not an easy role to play, because we have the government legislations, we have the company vision, all of that. But at the end, as a factory, you need to do it, yeah? And that's not an easy one. It's also needed for our, again, people in the future will want to work for your company because you have great technology, because also you are a green company. Yeah? So people will choose you as an employer basically to work not only for your brand or for your company, but also what you do. One of the things I've seen, if you want to do that, and I really hear nice solutions being invested, the work that we are currently doing in our Pringles factory with the Siemens Poland team, is that with the digital twin we've created of our energy system, we are now monitoring the efficiency. And the next step we are driving now is that we're basically going to simulate what do you need from, for example, wind or from solar supply, battery, electricity, capacity, and so on, heat pumps. But how much do I need to combine? Because today I don't have that answer. I can buy as many solar panels as I want or a wind turbine, but do I need it for my factory? And can I buy electricity on an hourly rate? So what we are basically doing today, because you want to meet all of these legislations, it also makes sense that you optimize your cost model. You also are compliant with the legislation, but at the same end, you're building a factory, a really lean digital factory that can basically supply you with the right needs at the right moment.
Thank you. And I would like to ask how it looks like in Tetra Pak, especially in the packaging industry, when these environmental issues are very important.
Well, this is a very exciting topic, definitely, from the packaging business perspective. So we see then that from a legislation perspective, sustainability becomes a license to operate. So if you are not meeting the requirements, you will not be able to sell. But it goes beyond that, right? And from our perspective, we're in a journey to create the world's most sustainable package. This is our ambition. But to do that, then you need to start then looking at the whole value chain. So start with the materials that you have. So we're looking for more renewable materials, and we're seeing how this energy crisis really redefines a bit the materials that we are using as raw materials, but then also then to be more effective in the production, and then finally at the end of a life cycle to having packages that you can actually recycle, that you have the infrastructure, that you have the collection. So I think what is critical here, it's not only to have the solutions, but to have the involvement of the government, of producers, of the packaging producers, of course, of the retailers, but of course also of the consumers, educating the consumers, because everyone has a role in this. So it's developing and driving technologies that effectively have an impact on the more sustainable package and a more sustainable environment is critical. And then on the other hand is developing technologies that are going to drive equipment, like for instance, processing equipment that are going to help to reduce cost by reducing water, reducing energy, or cleaning solutions. So this has a double benefit. From one side, it's cost, right? You're using less utilities. But on the other hand, you're using less water, less energy, which is also then beneficial for the environment. So I think sustainability is the strategy. And if you put it in the center of the equation, then everything around it needs to be having a purpose. And that purpose has different impacts. And that all of those impacts can be beneficial, meeting legislation, reducing cost, meeting expectations of retailers and consumers, but ultimately having a significant positive impact in the planet that we live in.
Thank you. And we have time only for last question, so I would like to ask you about future or the perspectives. In the first, let's say, when I first write this question, it was 5 years perspective, but no, let's say 1 year perspective. Let's find the answer, how the sector will change, and it's the way for food producers. What will change the most the situation? Yes, the technology, or maybe this house. We do not know what will bring, but maybe the model of making decision in the companies. What do you think will be one of them?
Honestly, even saying in 1 year perspective is difficult, I would say, because I don't see any. Let's say, first marks that will enter a calmer time. There is still the uncertainty. What I believe will change and what we are moving through, it's how to make our people capable to take responsibility on the process, how to make them able to gain capabilities very fast, and all the technology, all the tools for us is a enabler on one hand. On the other hand, this is the tool how to do it. Yeah, so I believe that coming year will be a year of developing capabilities of our people in the full chain. I'm representing the plant today, factory in fact. So in factory level, for sure, we are building now the line-centric model, starting from the very bottom positions up to the top management. So on all levels, we want to have people with high ownership and understanding of the processes.
And Mondelēz?
1 year is very short. But it's difficult to say what it will be. First, I would like to say, in 1 year, we just want to continue the very successful story we have in the year and to build the future. That's the basic. But looking at technologies, I think they are very important to support us on this journey. We invested. I'm talking about our company. So we invested a lot on the data gathering. We have some applications which we can use, and in this year we have to prove that they work and we can have the use of that. So and we have to find more cases. So this is still optimization of what we have. Having behind the heavy investment in the data gathering, the machine enablement to send the data, etc. So that's very practical for me, at least in the 2-3 factors which you have where we invested a lot. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Czarnecki, what do you see?
I think this is going to be a very important year. I think what will happen in a year from now is that the direction of digital tools, the artificial intelligence, and in general, you know exactly what I mean, will be decided. We will have to decide how to marry, you know, experience of the, let's say, older generation with the skills of the new generation, you know, for the tools, you know, to be used properly. Because this way we will, and it's bigger than food. It's just because what will be decided, you know, the coexistence of generations, using, you know, the new, I mean, not using, just in the new reality. In the food, for example, this may be that within the supply chains we will be better able to trace, you know, the stocks in our customers, and they will see our stocks, you know, and then using, you know, and that's for younger people and for the tools, but then using experience of let's say people of the older generation, we will be able to identify bottlenecks in the process, you know, to better use the tools and so on. So this is just an example, but this will be a very, very important year, I guess.
As well, very important year.
Of course, what I believe is that we're going to move away from experience-based decision-making into data-based decision-making supported by AI. A year is short, I fully agree with that. We already have one line fully converted where we move from the art of food making into the science of food making. So we use data to make the end product and you produce the perfect chip. So a year is short, but we have that on one line. We're going to keep converting that. And I think that is what is also going to happen in the food industry, that more and more companies will start to embed that technology because they see they need the data to do the decision making. So it's going to be indeed a year where it's only going to accelerate faster and moves the industry from reacting basically to preventing and controlling in future.
So do you think this year will be faster as well?
It's only going to get faster, that's for sure. And we've seen then a lot of investments already on place. So I think the next year is going to be the opportunity to show that value and those results in terms of productivity, cost reduction, improvement of quality. And as this happens, is going to be a curve that is going to accelerate. And that's going to be a great opportunity for the food industry to really leverage on technology and not only then be comfortable by, you know, jumping on the train, but really seeing more tangible results and seeing with this also how then the people and the processes continue to evolve.
Thank you very much. In normal conditions, we will hear applause, but now our public is there, so we have to go for applause outside. Thank you.
Thank you.